I was a drug addict and an alcoholic for 20 years straight. I did everything under the influence. I went to college 3 different times, was high every day. I had 6 children with my ex-husband, was high every day. I went to work. I took care of the kids. I did everything under the influence for 20 years straight. My ex-husband was also a drug addict. He was a Hungarian drug dealer. He sold cocaine, he sold pills, he sold crack. And eventually he started using his own supply, and I started using too. That at a certain point, that was the only way I could spend time with him. And there's no excuse, but we used the drugs. I was a drug addict. My husband and I had a lot of trauma bonds because we experienced a lot of abuse as children. So when we got together and we shared stories and our deepest, darkest secrets with each other, we became trauma bonded. So we did everything together. Fast forward to 2020. No, 2019. Fast forward to 2019, January of 2019. He has been locked up for about a year. We're separated, and I'm on drugs. I don't have custody of the kids at the time. And I end up going to rehab, and he gets out and he goes to court mandated rehab. Now, he's in one rehab, I'm in the other. He's still talking to me like we're getting back together and going to get custody of the kids back. But meanwhile, he's with a whole other woman, engaged to her actually, and ends up getting her pregnant while he's still talking to me like we're going to get our family back together. Okay, fine. While I'm in rehab, he ends up getting one of the kids from Baltimore dropped off to him. And while I'm in church, while I'm in rehab, I'm sitting in church, and he texts me telling me that him and so now have custody of one of our kids. And I'm like, who is so? And he's like, that's my girlfriend. When I said my head started spinning up in that church, I couldn't believe it. It was like he was trying to break me. And I just was my world came crashing down. But I had to keep going. I had fought for custody of those kids back for years. We had a 6-bedroom house. More than enough money coming in. And we were unable to get custody of these kids. But the second that my house is gone and my husband is locked up and I'm in the middle of rehab, all of a sudden they want to give me custody of my kids back. And I took them. I left rehab early, and the day I left rehab, I had all 6 of the kids, and 2 of the oldest kids brought partners with them. So I had 8 people, 8 kids I was taking care of, plus myself, from the day that I got out of rehab. And that was my reality for the first year. That's what I got stuck with. And what I noticed was there was no support system for aftercare for people who have gotten out of rehab, which is why this is so important for me to share my story with other people, because there's no one to look at to tell a story of how they got through what I went through. Every single girl that I went to rehab with is either dead, pregnant, or still on drugs. All of them. All of them. All of them. Every single last one of them. They all went and got pregnant. They all went. I see them walking around all the time. I be seeing them girls all the time out my window. I see them. I'll be like, yep, I went to rehab with her. I went to rehab with her. It's crazy. They went and did everything they told us not to do in rehab. They said, don't make any major life decisions for at least a year. Don't, you may need to cut off all your family and friends forever. And don't get into a relationship at least for a year. And they all did that. They still talked to their old family and friends. They moved right back to the same places they used to go to. And they all ended up meeting people in recovery and got pregnant. And they're all in toxic relationships right now. And I didn't want to be another statistic. And it's like, the things that I have been through and found a way to make it, that needs to be shared. Because there were times where I felt helpless and hopeless. And someone helped me. And I feel Like, I have to help others. I have to share my story to help other people because there's just not enough representation of good things that come from trauma. I'm going to take my time and break down everything that has happened to me in the past 42 years because it's important. I was in a toxic relationship and did not know it. I was an alcoholic and didn't know it. I was a drug addict and didn't know it for a very long time. There are so many signs that would be obvious to me now that I missed, and I didn't have any support. And there are people in this world that have never known kindness. There are people in this world that don't have any support. There are people in this world that don't have family. They don't have friends. They only have themselves. They get up, they go to work, they have mental health disorders. They don't have anybody to talk to. They don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of. They don't have anybody to shine light on them when they are in dark places. And I'm finna be that person for them. Moving forward, I'm going to talk more about how I got off of drugs and all of the issues that my family faced after I got custody of my kids back, because it has not been a cakewalk. Yeah, it may look all cute in the communities tab when I'm taking pictures of stuff that they're doing that's productive today, but it has taken us 3 years of war and love and pain and sleepless nights to get these kids to this point, because for real, there were times where I thought I was going to lose my mind. I thought that I was going to not be able to repair the relationship that I have with my kids. I didn't think I was going to be able to usher them towards God. I didn't even think I was going to be able to feed them correctly. You know, I did not know how I was going to be able to embody my beliefs fast enough to make them believe in me. I didn't know how I was going to gain their trust back. And I managed to do all of that stuff, and I'm going to share with you how I did it. I love you, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.